Hey, welcome back to the channel, my fellow weather junkies. I'm your host, meteorologist Greg Majeski, your trusted weather source here, bringing you the weather without all that social media hype, here on your June 26, 2025. Well, we got several things we got to give you an update on. Obviously, we're still dealing with the hot conditions across the nation, still dealing with a little bit of a heat wave, so we'll show you where those latest advisories are. We are tracking maybe some severe weather, kind of tracking out of the middle of the country, kind of moving up toward the Great Lakes as we head for the next 24 to 36 hours. And we'll also give you an update out in the tropics. The Atlantic remains quiet, but we are looking at potentially our sixth named storm out on the Eastern Pacific side. So we'll give you an update there as well. Now, before we get going, first I want to say thank you and welcome aboard to any new subscribers here on the channel. And if you haven't yet subscribed just yet, what you waiting for, my friend? Please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you're alerted on future content. And if you ever have a question, please leave a comment down below and give me a thumbs up. It does help with the almighty YouTube algorithm. All right, with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the latest what's going on out in the tropics. Well, we've almost made it through the entire month of June, and we have still yet to have a name system in the Atlantic side. The last time that has happened was in 2014. So our first named storm there, of course, is Andrea. And right now, things continue to be on the quiet side. Now, climatologically speaking, when you look historically, it's typically a quiet time of the year. Obviously, we're sitting right down here, getting ready to go into the month of July. It picks up just a little bit during the month, but it really picks up as we go into August and going into September. That's when things start to get going as we head toward the meat and heart of the hurricane season. Now, as we're flipping the calendar and getting ready to flip it here in the month of July, we start looking at other locations outside of just the Gulf of Mexico. Got a little hot zone here off the eastern seaboard, but we also start looking out here in the Caribbean and into portions of the western Atlantic as well as we go through the month. Now, right now, the next 7 days from the National Hurricane Center is not expecting anything tropical to develop. And looking at the satellite picture out there right now, fairly quiet. There's one decent wave here near Central America here, down here in the Western Caribbean. But otherwise, the rest of the Atlantic is very, very quiet out there for the moment. Now, as far as the Pacific side, we do have an area of disturbed weather out here off the Mexican coast. This one's showing about an 80% chance for development here over the next couple of days or so. So we could be looking at Flossie. Right now, it doesn't look all that impressive on the satellite picture as we're looking at these clusters of thunderstorms down here. And this is forecast to move away. And not right now looking like it's going to be like a major storm. So maybe at least a tropical storm as this continues to track off toward the west. So checking out our latest surface map here on your Thursday, seeing some unsettled weather across parts of the nation. Got some rains here approaching into the northeast. Unsettled across the southeast. We've got a lot of moisture down there and old outflow boundaries from thunderstorms. We'll see some more storms flare up again this afternoon with the daytime heating. The stationary boundary has been the hot zone. We've had some clusters of thunderstorms and severe weather that we saw on Wednesday. We're going to do it again in the same area again for today with the potential for a few isolated tornadoes. A little unsettled out here in the Intermountain region and another weak system approaching the west coast here on your Thursday. Now, obviously, we're still dealing with the residual impacts from the heat wave. It's not quite as robust or as widespread. We're definitely have cooled things off there in the northeast, but the mid-Atlantic continues to see heat advisories as well as parts of the Midwest and heading down here into the southeast. So those feel-like temperatures will once again be topping between 100 and 105 for many locations. So kind of limit your exposure outside. Don't be out there as long, especially between the prime heating hours, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You don't want to be out there in that. And if you do, just make sure you stay hydrated and be safe out there. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the list from the Storm Prediction Center as far as the thunderstorm activity. Again, the same zone that was kind of targeted yesterday here across southern Minnesota, Iowa, and Wisconsin. They're going to do it again today. They're running a slight risk there. A lot of marginal out here, level ones here across the Ohio River Valley and the southeast. Obviously, this time of year when you've got intense heat out there, you can flare up a severe thunderstorm on an isolated basis, and that's what we're seeing there. Even up here and across in parts of Montana as well for today. Let's break down the categorical breakdown. We're going to focus in on this area up here toward Minnesota. You notice we got 5% risk here across Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa. So we're talking about Madison, La Crosse, Rochester, Mason City. La Crosse had some tornadoes in that area yesterday. They may see a few more again here for today. As far as the wind threat is concerned, so we'll pull this back out. Again, the big cluster right there, that yellow, and that slight risk. But relatively 5% here across Montana, with that marginal risk, the green area running about 5%. So we're talking winds 50 to 60 miles per hour in those zones. And the hail threat predominantly looks like it's going to be down here across the areas of the mid-Atlantic and into the southeast. That's your hail outlook here for today. So what about your day 2 outlook? Let's look at day 2 going into your Friday. We'll be watching the high plains here across the Dakotas down into South Dakota, Nebraska. Still marginal risk here across the southeast and down toward Florida a little bit there, but a widespread general thunderstorm threat across a big portion of the country. And of course, this will probably be subject to change a little bit going in toward tomorrow. And then going into day 3, going into Saturday, still dealing with the severe weather across Minnesota and back up toward the Dakotas and in Nebraska. Again, the storm track is shifted further north, so this is typically this time of year is where you will see where any kind of severe weather elements will kind of set up across the northern portion of the United States. Now, obviously, when we're talking about thunderstorms, you got to talk about the flooding risk, because this time of year, flooding tends to be a bit of a problem because the thunderstorms are not moving all that fast, and they typically have a high water content because it's so much warmer, obviously, right? So again, we're going to have to watch this here. This is for today. It's your day 1 outlook here. So we're going to be watching, again, here in the middle of the country, the Great Lakes down in here toward areas of Kansas. I also got a little bubble here across portions of Pennsylvania as well, but a lot of marginal out there. So you get one of these gully washers on top of you, not moving all that fast. We saw a lot of this in the southeast yesterday. We'll probably do it again for today. How about your day 2 outlook going into Friday? Looks like we got a little slight risk here across portions of New York and into New Hampshire, Vermont, but a lot of marginal risk here. Some zones here, obviously, with some of these thunderstorms here across the country going into your Friday. How about Saturday, day 3? Just a couple of pockets here to watch here. We got the Northeast, obviously. We got areas that we've got those storms we showed you there across the portions of the Wisconsin back over toward the Dakotas. That's where that severe risk is setting up. It's obviously where the thunderstorm and the flooding risk will run the highest. Day 4, we're kind of shift out to the middle of the country here as we go into this upcoming weekend, going in towards Sunday here in the middle of the nation, going into day 4, and then day 5 going into next week. Looks like a pretty large swath here across the portions of the Midwest, stretching back in toward Texas and across portions of the Southeast. Again, just that time of year. And again, if you see running water, it only takes a foot of running water to move a car. So again, if you see a flooded road somewhere, don't drown, turn around. That's the best safety advice I can give you in that department. So let's go ahead and do a quick dive into the latest model data. We're first going to take a look at the short-range models, and then we'll go and take a look at the European to kind of take you for the next 7 days. So the next 2 days and then the next 7. So what we're looking at here is the latest high-resolution model data here, as we're going to be watching this cluster of storms here across the middle of the country, here across Iowa, kind of moving up into Canada. So that's what's going to set up that active weather here across Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa. That's your day 1 outlook here there. So here's that again. Watch that loop going through here. As we head toward the afternoon hours here, late in the day, we'll have to watch those thunderstorms go across Wisconsin and going up toward the north there. Generally just air mass thunderstorms here across the southeast. Just so there's some juicy, a lot of moisture. We'll get those scattered storms there. And then on the tail end of this run, looks like we got another disturbance that's kind of riding in out of the Rockies here, out of areas of Montana. So going throughout the day on Friday, coming in through the Dakotas, that's where that next day of severe weather was kind of lighting up here late in the day on Friday. Boom, there's those thunderstorms here flaring up, and we have to watch that going into your early Saturday morning. So that's what it looks like here. Still pretty wet here across portions of Florida as well with scattered thunderstorms. And another thing I'm starting to notice here is it looks like we may be in store for a fairly strong monsoon. You start to see that moisture really increasing across portions of Mexico and kind of sneaking into areas of New Mexico as well. So I think we may be in store for a pretty wet monsoon season, which would be good news because they've been dealing with some pretty bad drought conditions down there. Now, as far as the short-term rain, we got a couple of hot spots. We're talking Oklahoma, again, where that cluster of storms is going to track across Nebraska, Iowa, and into Wisconsin. We got to watch up through here, and just your general scattered thunderstorms here across the southeast and across portions of New York State and into Pennsylvania. So again, thunderstorms summertime, they tend to be slow movers. So if you get one over you, individual 1 to 2 inch rainfall amounts not out of the question with some of these storms. Now, as far as we take a look at the jet stream overall pattern, a couple things I'm noticing here. I'm seeing toward the tail end of this run, looks like some ridging taking place out here in the west as we head toward deeper into the month of July. So we're talking about after the 4th of July weekend, kind of going after that. And now if that holds out true, what we're going to see here is we're going to see building heat out here in the west. It looks like it remains a little bit unsettled here in the east, but a fairly active flow. Not seeing a big heat dome returning just yet, but it's hinting maybe out toward the west as we go in toward after the 4th of July into that week. Again, that's the long-range projection here. Now, looking at the 500 millibar height anomaly, I use this to kind of get an idea of where the high pressure and low pressures are kind of setting up. And remember, when you see the orange in here, that's high pressure building. When you see the blues, that's obviously a storm system or of some kind. And we noticed that we got a fairly active storm track here across the northern tier. Here's the system coming in toward the 1st and 2nd and 3rd across the northeast. Here's another little disturbance kind of riding down here. But notice the ridging out here taking place in the west. Here's another little disturbance into the northeast and the southeast. So the eastern half, at least going into July, looks a little unsettled. But we are getting hints of some sort of ridging taking place out here in the west. So maybe, not sure if we're going to get a heat dome just yet. It's a little bit far out, but looks like we could be seeing some building heat out here in the west as far as the long term going deeper into the month of July. Now go ahead and loop in your short term here for the next 7 days here on the European model. What we're seeing here is, again, we got a general weakness. Again, you got that one little disturbance that's dropping down. So the heights fall. That's going to allow things to cool off here going in toward the 1st and 2nd or so of July. So heading toward July the 3rd or going into that 4th of July weekend, it'll cool off there a little bit across the northeast. Generally just seeing air mass thunderstorms here across the southeast, little disturbances here and there, but not looking too bad, and is looking dry pretty much out here in the west. Not seeing anything here over the next 7 days. You see this timestamp there in that upper right-hand corner, so you get an idea of what's going on. So again, we're going to stay fairly active here across the northeast. You got that one storm system moving on through there. Air mass thunderstorms across the southeast and the Intermountain region fairly dry, especially the southwest. But again, I'm going to be watching very closely how this moisture starts to feed up in here across portions of New Mexico and into Colorado, because there's really some really good hints that that monsoon should really kick in here pretty good. So looking here at the precipitation here over the next 7 days, you notice we're seeing those rains here across New Mexico, Texas here showing up into Mexico. Pretty good rainfall. These are all basically air mass thunderstorms and where the thunderstorms line up with your rain here over the next 7 days. Takes you out to July the 3rd. I want to take you out beyond this just to kind of, again, I'm looking at forecast trends here. And one thing, when I take a look at the forecast here for the rain going all the way out to 360, look at the rain really building out here in Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado. That's a pretty active monsoon. Obviously, this time of year, you're going to see a lot of purple because you got a lot of thunderstorms here across the southeastern third. Still a little dry out here toward California and the Intermountain region, but definitely seeing a more pronounced monsoon out there. And why is that a big deal? Because they've been dealing with a lot of drought out there. Look at the drought conditions out here. It's been running quite high across Arizona, New Mexico, even western Texas. And this is really going to help beat back the drought conditions across that country. A lot of the, look at most of the countries really beat back the drought conditions, except for a little bit out in the west. It's definitely improved. So the severe drought conditions there across the southwest may get beaten back finally here as we go into the month of July if the monsoon season holds true with what it's showing here currently. Now, I'm going to take you the latest from the Climate Prediction Center, see if they're kind of backing what I'm seeing here on the models. And the fact that we're seeing below normal temperatures down here in the southwest, pretty good indication you got cloud, you got rain activity going on there. Again, we were talking about that building heat wave here in the west, so this definitely looks like above normal temperatures here, where the temperatures getting HOT. Let's just draw it out. HOT out here in the west, and still looking above normal here across the southeast as well. Again, that's your 6 to 10 day outlook. So we're talking about the 1st to the 5th, going into the first week of July. So is this going to continue? Let's look at this going out to days 8 through 14. Yeah, we're kind of continuing that trend there. So we're below normal here because of clouds and rain, building monsoon. We got a ridging here, so it's a little above normal here, and a little hot across the high Rockies, and above normal here across the southeast. A lot of the country, though, still looking at fairly average temperatures there, probably because of the fact we're expecting a fairly wet pattern here over that period as well. So let's go look at the wet pattern here going out from days 6 to 10. A lot of the country above normal, but look at the southwest. Again, looking at that in enhanced monsoon. I couldn't help but notice that on the European models here. So this is really going to be a welcome sight to see, to help beat back some of the drought conditions out there. And it looks like 8 through 14, that continues there across the southwest. So monsoon season really going to kick in fairly decently this year and really help with the drought conditions there. And a lot of the country looking at above normal precipitation here across the nation. And we'll see, of course, as we get deeper into the month of July, how the tropics respond and see if that has any impact here as far as the precipitation outlook is concerned. All right, so that'll do it for your update here for today. Again, be careful out there if you're going to be out in the heat. Obviously, we're kind of going to be heading into the hottest days of the year as we go into the month of July. And of course, we're going to have to watch very closely to see how the monsoon season develops. That could be a flooding problem out there in the west as we go into the month of July as well. And of course, the tropics, although they remain quiet, we know at a moment it'd be like flipping a switch and get very busy very quickly. So we'll keep a watchful eye out there as well and keep you up and informed on the latest in that department. Again, I appreciate everybody helping our little channel out. And if you haven't subscribed just yet, I'd appreciate your help if you can. Just please hit that subscribe button. At least that'll allow us to maintain our audience as best we can between live events. That's always our best chance to grow the channel. It's obviously when we're doing live, but in the meantime, we need your help to kind of maintain the status quo. So please help us out there and consider subscribing to the channel. All right, that's y'all's update for today. You guys take it easy, be good, stay safe, and we'll see you on the next update. Till then, y'all have a great day. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.